Okay, what we're going to do now is I want to take you into some of the ways that you can add due diligence projects first. So what we're going to do is go to this middle button here, which is Add a Due Diligence Project, and I'm going to click on that. And it opens up a screen with all of the values that we're going to input. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a second to size this screen so I can show you everything. And I'm going to create a new due diligence project. I'm going to call it Newest Product Offering, just arbitrarily here. And I want to take a moment and introduce you to some new functionality we have here called Import Due Diligence Project. What happens a lot of times is you may have to have similar due diligence projects depending on what you're doing. A perfect example of this is perhaps you have a requirement to gain certain data on all of your vendors that provide a certain type of service. What you could potentially do is set up a template with the data that I'm about to show you, create that template project, and then just copy it forward to as many numbers of vendors that you may need to complete that task. That's just one way that it can be used. There's many others that I'm sure you can think of, but I wanted to show you how to do this. And it's pretty straightforward. If you place a check in the Import Due Diligence Project checkbox, what that does is it turns on the ability to use this field here, which is Due Diligence Project to Import. And if I click on the drop-down box, what I get is all of the due diligence projects that are in this particular instance of WolfPAC. Now, if you set up your templates here, what you can do is simply pick whatever that template is, and it copies all of this other data that I'm about to show you into that template so that you can then use it without having to retype in the same information over and over. I'm going to set one up from scratch, if you will, so I'm not going to actually use that functionality, but I wanted to show it to you and make you aware that it existed. So carrying forward with this example of Newest Product Offering, I'm going to assign an owner to the project and a reviewer to the project. Now this is a sample organization here. For your own organization, these will be your WolfPAC user lists that will appear in these drop-down lists for you to select owners and reviewers from. You can also select a vendor that you want to add to this particular project, and it's as Brad had mentioned earlier, it's a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 6. And this is because you may want to do this for only one vendor if you're performing some type of a routine task. You want to have just one vendor in it, and a maximum of 6 because if you go over 6, you're going to get yourself pretty bogged down. So we put that limitation in there. Okay. And I'm going to select a few vendors to be included in this particular project of Newest Product Offering, and I'll pick just these few here up on top. And I selected 2, and now the drop-down box says 2 selected. I, of course, can go in and uncheck or add more or whatever I choose to do. And they're also listed on the page here so that I can see who it is that's been selected for this particular project. The next thing I want to talk about are the actual tasks involved in the due diligence projects. Each task, you'll notice, has a target due date and a completion date. This is so that you can set your goals for project completion. And just for the example here, I'm going to show you how to set April 1st as a target due date for this particular test, which is financial stability. There's also a default owner that's assigned, and the owner defaults to the owner of the project, but I can change that if I want to someone who would own just this particular part of the project. So you can have a hierarchy where you have someone who owns the whole project and then different people owning different parts of it. Next, I want to show you how to set up actual tasks underneath each one of these categories. And to do that, I'm going to click on the accordion button, and you'll notice that it expands to have a number of standard or default tasks that are available. And these are just items that are part of the review for financial stability. These are the default set. We can modify this and customize it to your organization. And the way you would do that, for example, if you wanted to add an additional task, you could simply click this link here that says Add New Task and add a task accordingly. I'm just going to type in a test for CFO tenure. You'll notice next that all of these owners for the default tasks default to the owner of the entire project. We can change this. So, for example, I can put a different person in charge of this new task that I created. I could also potentially take one of the existing tasks and change the owner. So again, you have a lot of flexibility to create the hierarchy however you need to for your organization. The last thing I wanted to show you on this particular area is that although these standard tasks, or the default tasks rather, are there and available to you, if there is one that you are not going to perform for this particular project, you can delete it by clicking here on the Remove link, and there's a warning, but as you do that, you'll notice now that that next to last task, which was the last default task, is now removed from the list. What I'm hoping you're seeing here is there's a lot of flexibility to be able to set the tasks up under each one of these categories the way that you need it for this particular project. All of the other tests, experience and expertise, general control environment, I'll just expand a couple of them. You can see they all work the same way. I'm not going to go in and make changes here, but I wanted to show you that they all do work in the same way. So you can set each one of these up to be exactly the way you need it for this particular project. All right, so I've completed showing you what I want to show you on this particular page, and as you'll note, we did set it up to be a project called Newest Product Offering. I'm going to exit the Add Due Diligence screen here because we now have set up this particular due diligence project.